Um, Microphone check, 1 2. What is this? Shifting Paradigms with B Michael. I'm your host. We're about to get into some interesting business today. Had a show designed to bring on a proprietor in Kansas City of a plant-based restaurant. Unfortunately, he has not made it, and so Plan B will avail today, and hopefully Plan B will serve of some interest to you. I want to really connect some dots to you with what I'll be discussing in terms of spiritual and physical realities and matters, but I'll get into that a little bit. But shifting paradigms is all about presenting critical ideas and thoughts to stimulate ideas in order to really shift our consciousness from more just base ideas to more critical thought, and we do this through conversation, we do this through information. And it's been a while since we've been on. We've been kind of on a little hiatus, so I've been kind of building on some things, but we're back. We're here, and today we're going to be talking about Yom Kippur paradigmatics. So we were going to be talking about plant-based paradigmatics, but unfortunately, again, my guy Zaid from Pirates Bone Burgers, and if any of you all haven't been there, I do recommend to just give it a try on 2000 Main. The Pirate Bone Burgers. He was going to be our feature tonight, but unfortunately, he's not with us. So Plan B, and Plan B being that this week is leading to, in my tradition, pretty much what we know as Yahudah or Judaism. We're going to be celebrating what we call the Day of Atonement or the Feast of Yom Kippur, even though it's, the Fast of Yom Kippur. And so this is what we're going to be discussing today. And I want to really tie it in with a couple of different principles. This is a day that is considered the holiest day of the year. It is the most set apart day of the year. In the tradition, when particularly the temple stood, this is when the holiest man from the holiest people went into the holiest place on the holiest day to make atonement. And so it's a very profound concept. Atonement is a very crucial idea that we in our day and time can definitely take away from, in that we're seeking to make amends, for past mistakes, those done knowingly and also those done unknowingly. And so we want to really draw out how we can correct our path, correct our steps, and get to a place where we can develop and become, the wise, sagacious human beings that we are created to be. That's what Homo sapien means. So to become optimal humans, we have to really start to embark on a path that will allow for us to engage consciousness and to engage, even morality, to engage, principles that are going to take us beyond just our limited personal perspectives of life. We are just really a fleeting breath. Our experience here is brief, but when you look at the collective consciousness of human history, we have hundreds of thousands of years of consciousness to draw from, ancestral consciousness and ancestral wisdom that they left as blueprints for us to get to a place where we can tap into, this collective consciousness and become greater, as humanity. And so, this is what we're going to be discussing today, getting into a few ideas, a few principles of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And we're going to be discussing in a couple of ways how Yom Kippur has changed, and how atonement has been effectuated since the year 70 of the current era, or really 30 of the current era. And so let's go ahead and delve into some of what I'm going to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you all can see some things here. We are going to deal with what is known as the liturgy, a Siddur, or actually a Machzor. The Machzor is the prayer book that is used for the High Holy Days. The High Holy Days are, of course, starting just this past Wednesday, I believe, was with the festival can again elevate us to a higher place. And so just getting right into it, one of the first important principles that takes place on the evening of Yom Kippur, which this year commences at sundown on Wednesday. So that would be the 15th. And then it carries over to sundown on Thursday. And this is a day of fasting. This is a day of affliction, they would call it as well. But this is also known as the day of judgment. So the beautiful thing about the calendar is we get an idea of a timeline, not only a timeline, but also a rehearsal of how things will unfold as the kingdom does manifest on earth. Because these days put you in position in order to experience the favor and even the deliverance and salvation of the Most High. And so it's very important. You know, the fall feast, we've discussed this on some paradigmatics before. The fall feasts have not been yet prophetically fulfilled, whereas the spring feasts have been prophetically fulfilled. You have the Passover, which was a moment of time in which that lamb was offered up, sacrificed. That, of course, is dealing with the sacrifice of Yahushua ben Yosef, HaMashiach, the Messiah. And so 3 days after that, you have the Feast of First Fruits. And this is all tied together. So this is why I'm kind of giving us a backdrop. The Feast of First Fruits then goes into the day of the resurrection. So this took place 3 days after the Passover festival, which was also a Sabbath that took place in that year on a Wednesday. And then 3 days after that, you have the Feast of First Fruits, in which the resurrection took place. 50 days also from that Passover moment, you have what is known as Shavuot, or what in Latin is known as Pentecost, but also known as the Feast of Weeks. And this is when the Torah was delivered at Mount Sinai. This is also when what initially took place with the Passover. Then you had the Feast of First Fruits, when all the first fruits were brought to the temple. And then you have the resurrection, which took place after the crucifixion. And then again, 50 days after that, you have Pentecost, or Shavuot, in which the Torah was delivered. And then you also have the fulfillment of the New Testament, when the Spirit was delivered to the believers and the law was written on their hearts and put on their inward parts. So those have been all prophetically fulfilled. The spring feast, okay, which is known as the barley harvest, okay? We brought the barley into it. This is why when you read the Messianic scriptures, you hear a lot of references to wheat, right? So wheat was relative to the fall festivals. It is a latter year crop, biblically speaking, agriculturally speaking as well. And this also is very symbolic of the beginning of creation, as well as the new year. So Rosh Hashanah, which is what some people call it, means head of the year. And so this is considered a new year. This is a civil new year, as a matter of fact, though. The religious new year starts in actually around April. And so it also commemorates the creation, okay? The